Hello and good afternoon. My name is Kit Cabello. We are filming here in the Q4 radio station. We are on Q4 radio every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I'm pleased to introduce a guest who was with us on our show earlier on our show. And she is a member of Black Lives Matter Women of Faith. Now, we did an interview a few months earlier with LaShawn Latrice. She is also a member of Black Lives Matter Women of Faith. But today we're going to be speaking to Carolyn Ruff. So Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us. You are a member of Black Lives Matter Women of Faith, and we are glad to have you here at the Q4 radio studios.
And thank you for having me.
All right, so essentially, for our audience that will be watching this on CanTV, can you please, basically tell us a little bit about yourself and the purpose of Black Lives Matter Women of Faith?
My name is Carolyn Ruff, like I stated, and I'm the founder of Black Lives Matter Women of Faith. We founded that organization in 2014 during the time that we were marching for justice for Laquan McDonald. LaShawn, Latrice, and I came together and we started talking about the injustice that's happening in our community, and that the homeless that's not being taken care of. And so we decided to come up with an organization. Black Lives Matter is very popular because we're all fighting for the same thing. So we came up with Black Lives Matter Women of Faith because we have faith that the injustice that's taken over our community, like the police brutality and whatnot, we decide to form a organization called Black Lives Matter Women of Faith because we deeply have faith that things are gonna be okay eventually.
So essentially, during the Maisha boycott that was happening here in Chicago, Carolyn, you were accused and arrested, but then those charges were dismissed later on.
Right.
So essentially, for our viewers, because LaShawn Latrice actually explained what happened as well, but since you were affected by this directly, can you please tell us what the Maisha boycott is again, just for a real quick refresher? And then essentially, what was the whole deal with these charges that were being put upon you?
I'm going to start from the beginning. March 9th, there was a young lady out of Charlotte, North Carolina, was abused by one of Misha's stores. She was beaten by two of their employees, the owner of the store, husband and wife. They abused her. She was put in the hospital. For 2 months. She lost her baby. I understand that they're still boycotting that store in Charlotte, but we also are boycotting the store here in Chicago. The owners live here in Chicago. That's why we decide to boycott that store because the owners are here. And since we've been boycotting, they have made a lot of changes to that store. And the front of the store is fixed. It used to be a yellow brick store, but now it's red brick. The name Misha has been taken off the front of their store, but it's still on the side. So we know that they're still dealing with Misha. So we've been there for over 300 days.
Right.
We've been boycotting that store. Have we made progress? Yes, we have. Have we hit them in their pockets? Yes, we have. Have we stopped people from going in that store? Yes, we have. Now, I could say that the people that's continuing to patronize that store are more or less the community people that live in that vicinity, and they're young people. So we have made a big difference, yes.
So real quick, in regards towards the charges that were put upon you, though, what was the essential situation with that?
Well, you know that I was arrested August 8th, and the charges were dropped. I had to go back and forth to court. The young man that charged me, that falsely accused me, didn't show up. at any of the court dates that we had. So they dropped him, and I can't tell you what the charges were, but um, it was it was hard. It was hard because I had to constantly go back to court. I had to get an attorney. Um, I couldn't go near that store for like 2 months, because if I had gone back protesting that store, they could have charged me again with the same charge. So I couldn't go back. And so it was like I was on probation, put it that way.
Now, you have been boycotting this store for like around 300 days plus. I mean, has it just been you by yourself? I mean,
Basically, yes.
so what's really fueling you to really keep on pushing forward for this boycott to continue on? What's giving you the strength to push forward?
Well, what's giving me the strength is the community. They're rooting me on when I go out there. They see that I've been out there for over 300 days. Um, and they're saying, yes, we got to get together. We got to close them down. And that's what really keep me going because the things that they have um, been doing inside the store, which I'm not going to reveal that, but it's been a lot of confrontation coming out of the store. So, and we can't have anyone in our community with that type of reputation.
So, in regards to this, I know we went over this on the show, but I think it's very important that we talk it, especially with our viewers on CanTV. In regards to this boycott, what has been the response from local community leaders, be it from City Hall, Cook County, or even from Springfield? Have anyone from those branches reached out to you, and has your organization reached out to any one of them?
No, we have not reached out to Springfield, but we did reach out to Sophia King. And so we are working on something. I can't really tell you what we really discussed, but we are talking about having other businesses come in that location, where Misha is, whether it's another Korean store, whether it's a black business or whatever, but it it's not going to be Misha. I could tell you that. Their lease is up in August, so we have to wait to see exactly what happened in August. But we are talking about having another business come in that location.
Now let's switch gears for a second and talk more about like larger issues that are really affecting the city of Chicago, Cook County as a whole, and issues that are nationwide. So on the Black Lives Matter Women of Faith Facebook page, there is an event that's going to be on April 2nd, and it's basically called Justice for Stefan, Laquan, Alton, and All Victims on Martin Luther King Anniversary. And we've all seen firsthand the numerous videos of police brutality and the lack of accountability. So, two-part question. What is needed for real accountability nationwide? And why has there been so much resistance from law enforcement to really stop these killings?
Well, I think, the law has to be changed in order to make a change. And our young people are fighting so hard to bring new legislation to guns to fight the police brutality as well. Because the police, we're not saying that they're all are bad people, but some of them are. And once the department look into that department to see or to air out some of the bad vibes in that department, I think it would be a better place for everyone, especially bringing up our kids, allowing our kids to trust them again, because right now our children are frightful regarding the police.
Right, and I think we've seen firsthand was for a long time, really, when it comes down to addressing police violence,
right,
before the rise of social media, for a long time people said, well, it doesn't exist, political establishment corporate media would sometimes maybe have one or few examples, but
Mhm.
then ever since the rise of social media, you have people, sharing these horrible events on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, and it's becoming more and more, I guess, now everyone finally sees it for what it really is.
Visible,
That's
yes.
more visible now,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and that it's a common thing every day, especially in low-income minority communities. And there's a reason why there's such a lack of trust. It's because it's been happening all the time. So really, what kind of legislation will be needed, at least to really talk to the elected, to at least bring trust between the police and the communities?
I think our young people
Mhm.
are really fighting hard to change the legislation, and that's with the guns, with the police brutality,
Right.
the unjust that's going on in our community, not only the black community, but the white community too, the brown community. So I think now that we see our young people fighting when they become of age, because most of them are 16 now, 17, 18, they will be voting, and they could vote some of these people out of office. I think that it has to be a change from the top up.
So I just want to return back to something real quick because you mentioned how young people are afraid, especially young people in African American communities,
Yeah.
poor communities out there, are afraid of the police.
Yep.
What does that do to a community? What is the mindset? How do people just keep pushing forward and always still have to deal with the notion, the fact that if they step outside or if they make one false move, they could be another Stefan, they could be another Laquan, they could be another young individual that's been
Right.
shot down for no reason.
Well, you got to be strong. You got to have faith in you got to have that deep faith, knowing that if I go to school, I'll be okay. But if I think about it or think that something is going to happen to me, then it's going to interfere with my faith. So you definitely have to have faith. Is it tearing down the community? Yes, it is tearing down the community. But we have to have strength to build our community. We have to unify. We have to come together as a community and fight for our community. Right now, we're not fighting for our community. We're protesting for one day, and that's it. You have to keep it going. You just can't protest for one day and think that something is going to happen. It's not.
No, there has been a lot of criticism towards Mayor Emanuel and City Hall in regards to police brutality. We have all seen firsthand the black sites that are there in which young individuals or either people are being tortured, and that was like way back in 2011. There's one site notoriously was located right in the middle of a low-income community to where people were taken in by the police, tortured, get made false confessions, and now there's a growing increase of lawsuits in which the victims of police brutality are fighting back against the Chicago Police Department in regards to corrupt police officials harassing people and falsely putting evidence on them. So, what has been your organization's response to, I guess, the lack of accountability by City Hall to hold our police officials accountable?
Well, it's really sad to say, but we're fighting with other organizations like CPAC to gain control of the police department. Right now, Mayor Rahm Emanuel appoint these different organizations. So we're trying to get control of the police department, so the people could voice their opinions, so the people could charge them for police brutality. Because right now, like you said, the videos are out, but they're not being charged. You're just going back and forth to court. And then when you do go to court, they don't serve time for that abuse or police brutality. So I think the change is really coming through our young people. We haven't seen it since Martin Luther King, but now things are beginning to get worse than 50 years ago before Martin Luther King was assassinated. So we have to start all over, and we have to rely on our young people to make those changes, and we have to support our young people.
Now, you mentioned young people getting involved in like protesting and marching, and you said on our show some time ago that you were in Washington D.C. And you were there at the March for Our Lives rally. So I think it's important to note really how can we connect March for Our Lives, Black Lives Matter, as well as other social issues. How can we connect them all together to really make a huge political impact on our country and really get people to discuss the issues that we've been ignoring for such a very long time?
Well, we got to encourage our young people. We can't just talk down at them. We got to encourage them. We got to explain to them why it's important for them to vote, because that's the key right there, voting. That's your power right there. So we have to encourage our young people to organize, to get out and vote. You know, just don't sit back and don't vote at all, like some of our organizations, and that's what they're doing. So that's why people are being, put into office that's not fair to us or to our young people. So we have to encourage our young people to take the torch now.
All right. And in regards towards like communities, we've covered a lot of events in regards towards gentrification. We've interviewed people like Fitzkagi as well as other organizers who talk about the gentrification that's crippling Chicago. For example, school is a main heart or a soul of a community, and when it's shut down, it devastates a community. So essentially, really, what is the long-term social impact of a school being shut down? We've seen Mayor Emanuel in his first 8 years shut down 50 schools, and then quite recently say that in his administration he was going to shut down 4 other additional schools in Inglewood. So what's the social impact by removing these public schools and basically ignoring the will of the community?
Well, first of all, we got to get rid of the top leader before there would be any change in the community. Once we get rid of the top leader, then we could basically breathe again. Because since we had our new mayor, he's been closing these schools. 54 schools were closed. Then he's talking about closing 4 more schools, which I think that's what they're really talking about now. Right. To build a academy for the police.
Right.
For what? I mean, if you can't find monies to keep the schools open, where are you going to get the money to build the academy? Right. So I think that it starts from the top, really.
And it's an interesting
for any change to be made.
And it's interesting that you point that out, because when Chance the Rapper was speaking about this issue, but especially about this police academy that's $95 million, when he had the opportunity to speak to Mayor Emanuel about this, MayorEmanuel walked out of the meeting.
Yes, he did.
All the while, everyone was being ignored.
Exactly.
So we have money for a police academy, but we don't have money to fund our schools.
Exactly.
And this kind of goes back to another issue about Chicago, and what people don't realize about this city is that it has a long history of segregation and discrimination, especially towards people of color, communities of color. So
brown people.
How can we tear down these barriers? Really, what's really necessary? I mean, there's the need to protest and of course getting out to vote, but what else is needed to really tear down the barriers, especially in this city that has a long, bloody history of segregation and discrimination?
Like I said, I am relying on our young people, and I think our young people have to be exposed to other organizations, to other communities, to unify, to get together and fight for what they want. And that's what I see through a lot of our young people, like Masorda's daughters. They're fighting for the No Academy, BYP 100. They're fighting for another thing. So different organizations are fighting for different things. And I think if they all come together, they're going to make things happen. Just like our young people in Washington, across this country, they're fighting for the gun rights, and I'm sure they're gonna succeed.
Now, when we look at Chicago,
Hmm.
media, the corporate media always portrays it as a violent location, that it's a war zone, that there's nothing but chaos all around. But I think the real story is being ignored. Well, the beauty that's in Chicago community, especially its people. So I think this is an opportunity, since you've been involved, especially with community organizing
Hmm.
and just getting people out to get actively involved. What is it that's one thing that the media is ignoring about Chicago when 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 in fact they always usually go towards the violence?
Well, there's no jobs in our community. That's what they really are really ignoring. They need to uh, have jobs for our young people. That's where all the violence are coming because of the fact our young people don't have jobs. You know, um, that's basically number one, the economy.
And how and especially the economy, especially in
Hmm.
low income communities.
Hmm.
Um, Really, how bad is it? Because right now there's been reports of huge displacement of people leaving due to the fact we have large real estate developers moving in and
Right.
gentrifying communities. Uh, Have you seen firsthand people leaving, like just because there's no opportunity here in the city of Chicago at all?
I hear that people are leaving.
Hmm.
Um, because of the fact of our property taxes are constantly going up, and they're being pushed out of their homes because they can't afford to stay in their homes because of the property taxes, especially our seniors. They're on fixed income,
Right.
and so property taxes are constantly going up. There's no jobs. You're not getting a raise on your job, and so people are moving out to cities where they have, that they could afford to live in.
Mm.
So that's why they're being pushed out, because of the property taxes are constantly going up.
Right.
I mean, constantly going up. And Chicago's really not broke. Chicago have money.
Oh,
It's
definitely.
just being misused.
The reason why Chicago, especially a lot of low income communities, don't have the resources because
Hmm.
of the TIF funds.
Yeah,
The TIF funds are designed to really go into the low income communities and
that's
reinvest
right.
in the communities, such as paved roads, public schools being open, and other social infrastructure that everyone uses, other
Hmm.
social programs that everyone needs.
Hmm.
But because these TIF funds are being allocated now towards the downtown area of
That's right.
Chicago as well as other tourist locations, a lot of low income communities are being starved of resources. So
Hmm.
basically, on our show, you mentioned about your organization working with other groups.
Hmm.
So what's really necessary about building a political pushback with a coalition of other groups that are trying to fight for the same thing?
Um,
Like Answer Chicago, and you mentioned you were with a few other groups. How you're trying to?
yeah, I think we have to merge together
Mhm.
to fight for these different things, because that's the only way that we can make things happen. We have to merge together and fight constantly uh, for justice for Laquan McDonald.
Mhm.
Like, for instance, when that tape first came out, we were all together, but now it's like we've given up on Laquan McDonald. And it's really a sad situation. And we need to be out there fighting for him, just like they're fighting for Stephon Clark.
Mhm.
We need to be fighting for Laquan McDonald as well.
And just so that people understand who Stefan Clark is, he was the individual who was shot in the back 8 times
Right.
on his grandma's property, all while he was holding a cell phone
Hmm.
and while he was laying there unconscious. Unfortunately, during that 10-minute interval, the police still had their guns pointed at him while he was bleeding out.
Hmm.
Then they choose to handcuff him. Then they mute their body cams, all while at the same time still lacking to give him the medical treatment that's needed.
Right.
And right now, I think there's still pending accountability towards those police officers that done that. Is that correct?
Right. Exactly.
Whereas if you look at another incident a few weeks ago, or months ago perhaps, an
Hmm.
African American officer shot a white woman and he was prosecuted like
Like
that. So
that.
there's
Yes.
a double tier,
Standard.
double
Yeah.
standard
Hmm.
that we have here. So really, there's that one incident where a police officer who shoots an innocent civilian gets arrested, put in jail right away, but it really depended on his skin color. So
That's right.
how do we break this notion to where, it just can't be just one person just vilified by the media while the other group is giving paid leave? How do we break that system? How do we really bring that conversation out there?
Like I said, we have to vote. We have to vote them out because I don't see any changes until we vote these people out of office.
Right.
And that's the key word right there. We have to vote for these people that's constantly killing our people. And they're not only killing black people, they're killing white, but you don't hear about it. They're killing brown people, but we have to get together and start a organization and register our people to vote and encourage them to vote, because that's the only thing that's going to make a difference. That's the power right there.
And real quick though, and especially in regards to getting people to go out to vote, there seems to be a lot of criticism towards our electoral system, towards people say, well, I could vote, but why does it matter? So
Exactly.
how do we get people to get actively involved? And what has Black Lives Matter Women of Faith done to specifically get people to register to vote and get actively involved?
Well, I'm a deputy registrar, and what I do, I go to different schools in the suburbs to register our young people. They turn 17. If they're 17, 18 by November, they could vote. And so we usually go and educate our young people to let them know how it's important and the reason why we're voting. And so I think that we should start that again, because right now a lot of people are registered to vote, but they don't vote.
Right.
And that's the problem right there.
And final question, this will be a two-part question really. One, where can our viewers learn more about your organization online? And number two, what do you want to say to people who perhaps choose not to get involved?
Well, I tell people that you have to get involved. Things are not going to get any better now unless you do get involved. And we got to fight. We have to fight for what's going on in our community now. It's really sad to see our young people go to school and they're stressed out because they don't know if they're gonna be killed by someone or by the police or whatever. So we all have to get involved. We have to organize. We have to get out and vote. And you could go on my page, which is Carolyn J. Ruff, and see some of the things that we're doing. I know in December we usually feed the homeless.
And your Facebook page is Black Lives
Black
Matter.
Lives Matter, Women of Faith.
Right.
You could go on my page and you become a member. Male or female, you could join that page, and we'll be glad to have you.
All right, Carolyn Ruff, thank you so much for joining Hard Lens Media. We're very grateful to have you here. And towards all our viewers and anyone who shares on social media, we have a website. Please check us out. Peace to everyone, and let's all do what we can to build a better future.
Thank you.
You're watching Hard Lens Media.